The key is always the GP in terms of the general practitioner is the gatekeeper for ACC in terms of if they sign someone off or not. And I think Denise touched on that as well. There was a study done in 2002 which correlated the findings between prolonged absence and long-term dependence in the workers' comp field in Australia. And basically this found that the longer you had off, the lower the probability was that you'd actually go back to work. So I think it found if you were off work for 20 days, there was a 70% chance that you might go back to work. If you're off work for 70 days, there was only a 35% chance that you would go back to work. So the lesson is basically we need to intervene before prolonged absence leads to long-term dependence. And I don't think this issue is any different for the insurance industry as it is for the welfare sector. Just quickly, I looked at what we call lost time claims. So in 3 years, in a 3-year rolling period, we looked after 5,000 lost time injuries. So these were people that were signed off by their doctor, couldn't go back to work. And what was our duration in terms of time, in terms of getting them back to work? So we talk about back to work or back to independence. So we were able to get nearly 60% back within 5 weeks, 3/4 back within 10 weeks, and 95% back within a year. Which meant that of these 5,000 people, there were perhaps about 25 off work after 2 years. And those 25 who are off work for 2 years are the really difficult ones. And the long term is that they perhaps need to be on the scheme long term because their injury warrants that. In terms of what are the tools that we're able to use in terms of managing people off the ACC scheme or off an income protection scheme, these are the sorts of things that we do that might be applicable to the welfare sector. The most important is early intervention. So one of the things that we're required to do is have a face-to-face meeting with a client or a claimant within 4 weeks. So we can't let them drift on the scheme without actually fronting up and meeting with them. And the key thing we get to do at that first meeting is we table a set of rights and responsibilities, and we discuss that, and we get the person to sign it to say, okay, I understand these are my rights, but these are also my responsibilities. And my responsibility is to actively participate in my rehabilitation. We also sign up a rehabilitation plan, which becomes a contract, which says these are the things that we're going to do, and I'm going to buy into it, and this is who's going to fund it in terms of my treatment so that I can regain my independence. One good thing that the ACC legislation has is a work capacity test, which enables us to use independent assessors to assess whether someone's actually able to return to work or return to the workforce, irrespective of whether they have a job or not. And that's a good tool for people that don't want to go back to work, who do have a capacity. And it's a good tool to give people a wake-up message in terms of we're actually putting you through a process, and it's got independent assessors there. So it's not just us saying you can go back to work. I think the thing that helps us achieve our outcomes, I would have to say, is having good people who have a routine of meeting their clients every 4 weeks. So we can't let them drift. And that means every 4 weeks we're having to discuss what are we doing about your situation, what's the plan, what are we going to do? This hasn't worked, okay, now we're going to head off in that direction. That means that the clients have to turn up and they have to participate, and it means that we have to be focused on terms of what we're going to try and achieve with them. If you're going to go down a case management route, my recommendation would also be in caseloads, do not overload these people. If you overload them, every client will become another number, and we're just going through the motions rather than actually trying to achieve outcomes. So our experience would suggest an optimum caseload might be 40 people with a maximum of 55. Thank you for your time.